All right, number 17. If they're asking you about a function, all you care about are the x's. Don't even look at the y's. So you should grab a highlighter and you should highlight the x values. All right, so now I ask myself, does 2 repeat? No. Does 3 repeat? Yes. So now I'm going to focus in on these two numbers. 3 was hanging out with 10 on Tuesday, and then 3 decided to go hang out with 14 on Thursday. No, not a function. Now, when it comes to domain and range, you should think about doxray. That helps us because the domain are the x values, and the range are the y values. So the domain are the values 2, 3, 4. You don't have to write 3 twice because it's already implied. And then the range is 8, 10, 12, 14. All right, the independent variable. Remember we talked about Beyonce. She's an independent woman. Okay, so that's the x variable. She's a woman, so she's x. The dependent variable is the y. Write the standard form of equation. Boom. ax plus by equals c. Remember, c is just your constant. Following slope formula, we've done it a couple times. M equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Okay, so this is function notation. You should take this value and you're plugging it in. So I would line it up. F of negative 3 equals. Remember to use parentheses. All right, negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 9 minus, so two negatives next to each other becomes a plus. So 9 plus 3 is 12. So F of negative 3 equals 12. I could also ask you to write that as an ordered pair, and that would be negative 3, 12. All right, what are all the words synonymous with the word solution? Remember, Beyonce is the diva. She's got all sorts of names. So it's also a root. It's also a 0. And more importantly than anything, these are all x-intercepts. Find the function that represents the relationship in the table. Straight up, you should be able to put that y equal into your calculator, and then you can just look at the table. If you want to do it old school, it's just a guess and check. So I'm going to start with these. Okay, y equals 8 times 0. That gives me 0. And my y does not equal 0. So that doesn't work. B, y equals 14 times 0 plus 8. 14 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 8 is 8. That's not 14, so that doesn't work. If I go to C, y equals 8 times 0 plus 14. 0 plus 14, 14. Yep, that one worked. Y equals 8 times, now let's do the next one, 1 plus 14. 8 plus 14 is 22. So that works. Let's do the next one, 2. Y equals 8 times 2 plus 14. 16 plus 14 is 30. That works. Y equals 8 times 3 plus 14. 8 times 3 is 24 plus 14 is 38. That works. And last one, y equals 8 times 4 plus 14. That's 32 plus 14, which is 46. That works. Therefore, my answer is C. Remember, put that into your calculator, put it into the y equals, and then check your table by doing second graph. All right, which equation is a linear equation? Linear just means that you can put it in standard. ax plus by equals c. There are no squares. These have squares. These have squares. So no, immediately, that's out. That's out. We have not had anything in terms of equations where you've had an x and a y put together. I mean, you did for evaluating expressions, but that's not, you can't do that, so that's no good. It's B. Miss Beck, that's an A and a B though. This is the same thing as 3x plus 5y equals 3. They just use different variables. Use the graph to the right to identify the slope of the line. All right, so I'm going to pick this point and that point. Why not? Okay, so m equals rise over run. So I rise 1, 2. I run to the left 1, 2. 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Remember, I don't know how many times I can say it, do your slope guy. This is going down. This is going down. I know it has to be a negative slope. That's the biggest mistake. Write an equation for the recursive sequence. All right, so a sub n, and I'm going to give you this formula on the test. All right, so my a sub n, or my a sub 1 is 4 plus my common difference, I'm adding 3. So a positive 3, and then n minus 1. I distribute. 3 times n is 3n. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Drop your 4. My variable is 3n, and then 4 minus 3 is a positive 1. So that's my equation. My 101st term, all I do is take this and I plug in 101. So that equals 303 plus 1 is 304. All right, what is the 0? 0 is a diva. It means x-intercept. So I go to the x-axis, highlight it, and I see where that graph, or where that line crosses at the x-axis. And it is as 1, or it is at 1. So that's at x equals 1, which would be 1, 0. When it says check your answer algebraically, I would subtract 7. 9 minus 7 is 2. And divide by 2. X equals 1. So yep, same thing. Okay, I'm going to graph that. If they just tell you to straight up graph, then you need to make your own table. Okay. It's already in y equals, so I'm going to go to my calculator to y equals, and I'm going to put in 2/3 x minus 5. And then I'm going to go second graph, which is my table. Okay, here are some of the numbers that they gave me. -3, -7, 0, -5, because I want to put numbers that'll fit on that graph. 3, -3, and 6, -1. Okay, so I go -3, 1, 2, 3, down 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3, 1, 2, 3, down 3, 1, 2, 3. And then 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down 1. If you've got a crazy dot, you did something wrong. It should be a straight line. This whole unit is called linear functions. Another way that you could do this is you could find the x and y intercepts. Remember, I need to put it in standard. So I'd subtract 2/3 x first, giving me -2/3 x plus y equals -5. Now, we really haven't talked about completely turning it into standard. Technically, a, b, and c are supposed to be integers, which means no fractions or decimals, but we really haven't talked about that yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and split it up. Okay, so my y is already solved for me. Yay! Over here, I multiply by the reciprocal. Those go away. X equals, okay, so that would be -15 divided by -2. So 15 halves, which in terms of graphing purposes would be 7.5, right? All right, so then I would graph using my x-intercept is 7.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. And then my y would be -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look, oh my gosh, it's the same line. So you could do that either way. 28. All right, so y equals 3. You need to think of Hoy Vux. That helps us because horizontal lines are y equal equations. Vucks are vertical lines that have an x equal. So for y equals 3, I go to the y-axis and I go to a positive 3. So hoi, h is horizontal, so I know it's a horizontal line. For x equals -4, I go to the x-axis, 1, 2, 3, to -4. Vux, v is vertical, so it's a vertical line. Those are important. Make sure you know those. All right, that's it. Here are a couple things that I would draw immediately if I were you and I got my test tomorrow. I would draw a slope dude. Okay. I would also know that m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It's also equal to rise over run. Another thing is standard. Standard I want to use for x and y intercepts. That is ax plus by equals c. You also want to think about Dach's ray. Okay, so that tells me that my domain are my x values, my range are my y values, and then lastly I would think about hoi vux. So H, so for the hoi, that stands for horizontal. That O is actually a zero slope, which you can definitely check with Slope Guy, and that's a y equals equation. The vux is vertical. That's an undefined. The U stands for undefined slope. And that's an x equals equation. Alrighty, study hard.